In an earlier video, I talked to you about something called the Karpman drama triangle. It's my default hand gesture for the Karpman drama triangle. And the drama triangle was created by a psychologist named Stephen Karpman to help his clients identify the patterns within the stories they were telling him about relationships and life at work, at home, wherever it might be. And those storylines fell into three different kind of characters, you could say. One is the hero, another is the victim, and the third is the villain. And the hero is the storyline or the role that we all take on where we want to be the person that saves the day. We come in and make sure everything's going great. Everybody is taken care of, everyone's feeling good. And it's funny because that hero is also the person that in doing so makes sure things are done the way they like them to be done. Then we have the victim, which is the storyline or the role that we all take on when we feel a bit helpless or hopeless. We feel a bit stuck. And then the third role or storyline is the villain. The villain I call the chief finger pointer because the villain is the person that's going to blame everybody else when something goes wrong. So we adopt this storyline or we take on this kind of role when we think that people haven't listened to us. Maybe leadership hasn't listened to what we have to say, therefore it's their fault if something goes wrong. So the vast majority of the stories and self-narratives that we have swimming around in our minds are based on one of these three different storylines: hero, victim, or villain. And our brain creates these stories as really a means of self-protection and self-preservation to keep us alive. But I also think that if the brain has the ability to create these type of stories that are often defensive, that are often protective, that often kind of keep us closed off, that the brain also has the potential to create stories that take us into a completely different direction. And wouldn't you know, there's an alternative coaching tool to help us see what this alternative might look like, what these stories that are more positive and optimistic and open might be like. And that tool is called the empowerment dynamic or the empowerment triangle. It's created by David Emerald. And instead of focusing on the roles of hero, victim, villain, the empowerment triangle, so yes, we could go like this again, is made of three roles, which is the coach, the creator, and the challenger. And I'm going to explain to you what those are and how they relate to the roles in the Karpman drama triangle. So we're going to start with the coach. The coach is kind of another take on what the hero could become, or I take on what the hero could become. So as I mentioned, hero is always there to save the day, is going to take care of everything for everyone and ensure in doing so that things are done their way. The coach instead realizes that everyone within an organization and within our society has the potential to take care of problems themselves, right? And that the best thing they can do as a coach is to ask some questions to help people figure out where they are and where they want to go next and how they can take on a challenge and solve it for themselves. So instead of being a hero where they're just telling everybody what to do or taking care of it for them, the coach is bringing some empowerment to those around them by helping them figure out the challenge for themselves by asking some questions. Then we have the victim, who again is kind of stuck and feels helpless and hopeless and often goes to the hero for some help. The victim within the empowerment triangle is embodied in this role of the creator. So the creator is the kind of role where we realize we have a lot of options. So instead of saying like, I don't know where to go, this whole situation is just hopeless, the creator is a mindset and a storyline that we can develop for ourselves where we realize, man, there's a lot of different ways this could go. There's a lot of different ways I could take this and I can influence them and I can create it for myself. Again, a very empowering role, very different from the role of the victim and the drama triangle. And then lastly, we have, instead of the villain who's pointing fingers and blaming everybody else for when something goes wrong, as we all do at times, we have the challenger that sits within the empowerment triangle. So the challenger is somebody that's still going to call out things when they don't think things have gone well, or when they don't agree with something. However, they're going to do it in a much more constructive way, in a way that lets everyone know that I'm on your side. We're all on the same team. Here's my problem, here's my concern. Let's figure out how we can handle it together. So, as I mentioned, the vast majority of our stories do sit within the drama triangle. And we do have the capability and we have the tools within us to move to a role within the empowerment triangle. But it takes a lot of time and effort and energy, right? This doesn't happen overnight. I often say people that work in technology and, in a lot of our fields have the skills to get going on this work because we know about experimentation. We know about doing research. We know about iterating on our processes and our thinking. And we can apply that to moving from holding a role in the drama triangle to holding a role in the empowerment triangle. So what you could do is between 1 week, even 1 day, if that's what you've got for this experiment, give yourself 5 minutes between meetings. And I know it's really hard because we have to rush from meeting to meeting and conference room to conference room or Zoom call to Zoom call, but just try it out. 5 minutes between meetings and write down the answer to a couple of questions. What was a story that was spinning around in your mind during that meeting? Were you holding the hero role, the victim role, the villain role? Or maybe were you within the empowerment triangle and were you holding the challenger role, the creator role, or the coach role? Just write that down. What's the story you were telling yourself? What role were you holding? And if you can, you get extra points if you can answer what triggered that role. What triggered that story to come into your mind? Was it something somebody said, positively or negatively? Was it your own feelings? Maybe you didn't sleep well the night before and you're really tired. Maybe you're hungry and you haven't given yourself time to eat or time to step outside and get some fresh air all day. Just do a little research, do a little self-assessment, build a benchmark of where you are now. Because with that beginning work and creating some self-awareness, you can start to think about and realize what are the stories that are dominating your life? Where do you want to go to? And then we can start to work on how you get there. Let me know how you get on.